to be really intentional about putting the team together.
I was in!
Hold on, and start screaming.
How good is Joe Herbert? Rolling.
The Los Angeles Chargers select Rashawn Slater.
Asante Samuel Jr.
Stop! Oh, I'm stopping y'all boys. That's what I'm
Intercepted! Picked off by Michael Davis.
Explosiveness from Eckler. There's Murphy. Boy, he blew that up, didn't he? It is picked off. Nasir Adderley. 50-50 ball is 100%. Mike Williams.
Ochena Nwosu. And that will end it.
Time to bolt up.
Welcome to another edition of Chargers Unleashed. Jake Hefner and Dan Wolkenstein here with you from the LA Football Network. Today's show, of course, is being brought to you by Charger Bolt Family, Golden Road Brewery, MyBookie, and UFC Fit in Temecula. Dan Wolkenstein. First off, it's been a minute since we have done a show live. Feels great to be back in this type of environment. Second of all, Dan, you would actually be very proud of me. All things considered, I have canceled my cardiologist appointment for this week.
What?
But all that being said, around 12:30 local time on Sunday, that bitch was scheduled. It was ready to go because I'm watching just a monumental start, something that we did not expect this Chargers team to do. 24-point lead. Only to see them squander it slowly but surely. It becomes 24-22. And then somebody, whether it was Brandon Staley, Joe Lombardi, or Justin Herbert himself, just cold-clocked the rest of the team and said, hey, we can't do this again. And was able to pull out a very impressive victory, finishing the game 41-22 with a victory on the road in a crucial AFC conference matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals. Dan, you made the road trip. You were there.
Ooh.
Give me a little bit of the insight as far as what the atmosphere was like.
Oh boy, let me tell you, Jake, I was ready for this show since I got out of the stadium. Paul Brown Stadium was so much fun. Shout out to all of the Bolt fan that came and represented. You were felt, you were seen, you were heard all throughout that game. Before we get started, welcome to Chargers Unleashed. For those who are in the comments, watching on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever you are, thank you guys so much. Let's have some fun today. Chargers won. They're 7-5. If you have comments, questions, put them in the chat. We'll go ahead and put them in as we go. But, Jake, the Chargers won against the Cincinnati Bengals on the road against a 7-4 team. Justin Herbert balled out, outperformed Joe Burrow. Brandon Staley laid the gauntlet, and taking the flight out for my first away game was arguably one of the best decisions I've made all year. Quick shout out to my buddy Eric, who had given me the VIP treatment, and I went to the game with him and his family. I sat front row, watched everything up close, went to the tailgates. Afterwards, went to the restaurant. Eric and his family, honestly, thank you guys so much for all that you did for me, for everything you guys are. I mean, your son was amazing. By the way, Jake, quick side story. We're on our way into the stadium, and I'm talking to their son, who's amazing, by the way. And I asked him, hey, buddy, what do you think the score is going to be today? And he goes, I think it's going to be like 40-somethings to like 20-somethings. I think he was 7. He's like, I think it's going to be 40-something to 20-something. And we're about to cross the street. We're with a bunch of Bengals fans that were around us. And Bengals fans turned around to us and were like, well, we hope you're wrong or whatever. But you heard that. And I say, look, here's the deal. If the Chargers win by anywhere near that, I will buy you a football of your choice. That's the bet. We shook hands, went in the stadium. Wouldn't you know it? Fast forward 3.5 hours. The kid was dead on. Little did we know, obviously, we got him the football. Kid was ecstatic. Whole family was amazing. Chargers fans were everywhere in Cincy. Man, that felt good. So we got a huge show today. I'm so grateful that we get to go live, get to talk to everyone out there. We'll bring in your comments like I mentioned before. If you have not subscribed, hit the like, subscribe, smash the bell notifications, you name it, all that stuff. Jake, today we're going all about Chargers beating the Cincinnati Bengals, currently in, I believe, the 5 or 6 seed for the playoffs.
5.
Takeaways. Chargers hotline. Chargers Unleashed hotline. Got some voicemails to go through today, so we'll get to do some of those live. And then, of course, we'll get to hear from you, all of the listeners, the viewers that are watching here live. We'll talk to you guys as well. Jake, the vibe was amazing throughout the game. And I didn't have any service for most of the game, so I wasn't even able to go on Twitter to see people freaking out or excited. But there was a moment where you're thinking, you've got to be kidding me. Chargers come out, guns blazing. They make it a game. You're like, not again. And Tevon Campbell, of all people, Tevon Campbell with a scoop and score takes it back. The euphoria that was felt in that stadium from those Chargers fans.
Just put it on a shirt already, Dan.
I mean, 4th and Staley, 4th down, right off the bat, 4th down touchdown to Keenan Allen, setting the tone early. Man, it felt good. There are so many takeaways from this game. You can't underestimate how big this was. Chargers are playoff bound currently. They have everything in front of them. And for all of those people who are yelling about Joe Lombardi and not able to throw deep and blah, 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 you're eating crow today. So that's all you saw. Jake, Chargers defeat the Bengals. I heard a stat that they are 3-1 against the AFC North, and in those 3 wins, they have scored 40 or more points in all of them.
It's nuts.
Chargers defense holds them to 22 points. Jamar Chase, for the most part, was held in check, graced by the hand of God that got him to drop that pass that turned into interception. Michael Davis. But
T. Higgins had himself a game, though.
He did. So let's get into it, Jake. So, how are you feeling about 5 minutes left in the third quarter? How are you feeling?
Well, Dan, you know me. Until the clock hits 000, I always expect something is going to happen that will just cause catastrophe. Mm-hmm. And much like we had seen with a 24-0 lead, in the back of your mind, you're loving what you're seeing from this team, but at the same time, you're like, okay, I've seen this movie, I've seen the sequel, I've seen the trilogy, I've seen the damn saga for the better part of the last decade of collapsed leads.
It's too much.
I don't want to see anymore. And then when one thing happens, it's just another thing that happens and another thing. The Bengals were turning the ball over, and Dan, like you said, the touchdown that turned into an interception in less than a second for Jamar Chase. I've never seen something happen like that where the ball literally bounces off a receiver's hands, goes backwards right into a defender's hands in that type of fashion. That just seemed like that was the way that the ball was bouncing for the Chargers today, when traditionally it doesn't bounce like that. And then it's like all of a sudden the Chargers said, wait a minute. We can't have you guys collapse like this. We're the valedictorians of collapse. So we got to get back in this and let's show you what we got. Austin Eckler uncharacteristically putting the ball on the ground twice. Justin Herbert with it. It really wasn't a bad interception because Josh Palmer could have came down with the ball, could have even been defensive pass interference from the way that the defender had run into Josh Palmer on that pass. So that one could have honestly gone either way. But the Chargers, 7 total turnovers in this game, 4 from the Bengals, 3 from the Chargers. It just became wild and wacky. And when the Bengals were all of a sudden making their push and stopping Chargers on certain drives and then being able to put points up on the board, and then when it comes from a 24-point lead down to 2, you're holding your collective breath at that point in time, just saying, what the hell did we do as a fan base to deserve such things like this? I get text messages from me left and right this day saying, why can't we have nice things? What is happening? What's going on? Like I said, screw the 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Dan. Until that clock struck 000.
No, you're not wrong.
That's when I felt better.
Yeah, and there was so much that went on during that game. I mean, for weeks, folks have been clamoring for folks to let go of the reins of Justin Herbert. Let Herbie cook. Like, let him go deep. Let's get aggressive early. Let's show some blitzing. Let's show some pressures. Joey Bosa goes out with what they thought could have been a concussion, ends up getting cleared. And you're a little nervous. You're wondering, how are we going to generate pressure? This was the defense that I think everyone was so excited for the potential of. You're seeing pressures from all over the place. Uchenna Nwosu, Kaiser White, Chris Rumpf, Derwin James, Nazir Adderley, Drew Tranquil. I mean, everyone. It was kind of wild. Justin Jones was in there. You had playmakers all over the field making plays and disrupting, making the offense uncomfortable. Then on the offense, they're just bombing it left and right. You saw bombs to Mike Williams, bombs to Jalen Guyton. They saw attempts to go over to Donald Parham. I mean, they were going. You saw 20-yard gains to Jared Cook. I mean, that was about as aggressive and as happy as you could be with a style of a game for the Chargers. Like, that's what folks were wanting. And for them to come out 24-0 lead, yes, it got a little hairy because of those fumbles from Austin Eckler. But what are you going to do? You're going to bench Austin Eckler? Hell no. Like, he knows he messed up. And the first one was arguably not, but it is what it is. He actually got lucky it wasn't another fumble earlier in the game. But there was so much good in this game that you can't. I mean, we can nitpick about some things that went wrong. Obviously, the Austin Eckler fumbles were wrong. But, there were a couple drops, but I don't think anything that was crucial. I'm having a hard time. I don't want to say gloating. I'm having a hard time not gloating at the fact that so many people, and sometimes Jake, yourself included, were so down on this team and so quickly are turning the page to 2022 and are so quick to blame and fire and all of this stuff and talk about how crappy the defense is and how much we need a wide receiver 3 and how Joe Lombardi must go. It's all there. Now, heaven forbid how washed some of these players are. You talked about it last week. We talked about perspective. Going into this season, success for me, winning season 1, get to the playoffs 2, and hell, if we can win a playoff game, I am praying to the gods, grateful of what we just did with a first-year head coach, second-year quarterback, whole new coaching staff, brand new offensive line, like you name it. 7-5. 7-5. We already have eclipsed or have equaled the number of wins of all of last season. 5 games remaining, 3 in the division, 2 against not very good teams. We gotta embrace this journey. I sure as hell am. This is the most exciting a Chargers team has been, in my opinion, in years. And yes, I think Hi Joe mentioned it. I didn't even get to talk about this yet. Chargers go up 22-0. And we get to see the Herbo special. Justin Herbert's catching dimes from Keenan Allen. Have some fun, Chargers fans. Bull fam, enjoy this. Support the team through 4 quarters. If the team loses, it happens. But Jake, Chargers won. The Chargers won in Cincinnati. Everyone wrote them off. Nobody picked the Chargers. They got to the team hotel pissed off. Came out with a victory. What say you?
Dan, you understand my reasonings for the comments that I made last week, and I stand by them.
You're very bitter. You're bruised, battered, torn. You're a Chargers fan who's got your heart ripped out of you for years.
But I'm also truthful. What was the last thing I said? You asked me.
It looks like Jake may have been frozen. He was so ready to talk about this take. But while we wait for Jake to come back in here, guys, this team is the truth right now. Sure, they're young. Sure, they have lots of things that they can get better at. Sure, there are things that can improve, obviously. But they're 7-5. They're in the 5 seed. They're ready to go. There were so many players that performed well in this game that we have to just take a second and just enjoy it. Okay? So, here's the thing. We were clamoring all week about, can we get some blitzes? Can we get some pressure? We got it. We clamored all week about letting Kaiser White, getting Uchenna Nwosu back going. We clamored all week about letting Justin Herbert throw long. We clamored all week about being aggressive on defense. We clamored all week about starting early. We clamored all week about finishing the game strong. There were so many things that we had clamored at. We were begging to have happen. And it happened. And so, Jake, I know you were so excited you hit the router button and turned off your internet for a while.
I think it was you, dude. You didn't want me to say any negative comments about what I had to say last week. Look, go back over the last, 5 or 6 weeks and look at how inconsistent the Chargers have been. When you come out and Justin Herbert puts on a show against Philly, and you come out and then it's the following week against that, and it's against the Minnesota Vikings, and look what happens there. And then you go to the Steelers, and just an amazing game comes down to the wire. There's comebacks from the Steelers, and the Chargers are able to pull it out traditionally in a game where they don't do that. And then you lose to a divisional opponent by them only completing 14 passes. And then again, you come back and do something that we haven't seen them do all year, which is get a 24-point lead, take away an opposing team's run game, which is really the best way to do it when you have to get a lead that high. But still, not even a 24-point lead is good enough. It's just been up and down. It's been ebb and flows with this team. When they got off to such a hot start at 4-1, and we're doing something in the beginning of the season that we haven't seen them do recently, because recently we know this team starts off traditionally very slow, 2-4, 1-5. Whatever you want to say. We got it to a very hot start, 4-1. And then we thought we were getting to the easier part of the schedule, and we were sitting at 4-2, thinking it was going to be a little bit easier of a ride after that Ravens game. Nope, hasn't been. It hasn't been. The Chargers have been in some wars. They've been in some battles. But you look back at those perspectives, Dan, and yes, obviously the Chargers are 7-5 right now. But damn, losing that Minnesota game, losing that Denver game. When you look at what you have remaining, you have the Giants, Kansas City, the Texans, Broncos, and Raiders. 3 out of your 5 games you finish in the division. So these next 5 weeks are going to be critical to see if you can overtake and lead the AFC West going into the playoffs. And let's be honest, the AFC conference is just flat out drunk right now. Nobody knows what they want to do. Baltimore doesn't know what it wants to do. Buffalo doesn't know what it wants to do. We'll see what happens with the Titans this week. They were on a bye. But anytime that you feel, with the exception of the Patriots, obviously, and unfortunately, anytime that somebody talks about, oh, they're the team to beat, or they're the team to beat, or they're the team to beat, the following week, it's just, nope, bop. And somehow, some way, with the AFC West or the AFC conference opponents doing what they've been doing over the last 5 weeks on top of what the Chargers have been doing, somehow the Chargers are sitting in the 5th seed in the wild card race of this wacky playoff run.
The Chargers, if they take care of business against the Giants next week, will be battling for the AFC West crown that following Thursday night. And that is going to be an insane game regardless. Now, Jake, we're probably going to see a few of these. We'll see. Fashard comes in and says, "Hey man, talked to you at the end of the Bengals game on Sunday, and you were super nice." Hey, you were super nice too. I think all of the Chargers fans were very nice and feeling great after the Chargers victory. If I saw you at the game or at any of the bars before or after, say hi. Let me know. I had so much fun. There were so many people at the Chargers. Jake, do you know that we took over 2 separate Bengals bars the night before the game?
That was wild for you to stumble into those 2 particular bars that were just nothing but Chargers fans. I don't know if there was like a Facebook post for you or if there was a radar. Okay, that makes sense then. Okay, because I'm like, there's all these people the night before the game in Chargers gear. And that was a big night for Cincinnati from a college perspective too. So I was really surprised by that to see.
Yeah, it was actually it's interesting. The first bar we went to, we were there. There were probably 50, 60 Chargers fans, by the way. And at the time, the owner of the bar was a little in his feelings because he was actually a Michigan fan and wanted to bring in his Michigan friends, but there weren't enough seats. And so he stopped letting Chargers fans in. So we were told that there were like 20 to 30 Chargers fans sitting outside the bar waiting to get in. If they wouldn't let them in, they'd only let Michigan fans in. So at some point, we all just said, screw it. And we went to a bar near it and then took over the outside patio of it. And it overlooked the stadium. There's a picture I put on Twitter. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It was amazing. It was amazing. So, Jake, and folks who are watching, listening, in your opinion, because we can go into all the stats, which we'll get into in a second, but first take reactions. Biggest reason we won this game, biggest factor, what is it?
I think you really have to give it up to the defense on this. I know that we could go on about Justin Herbert's performance. Joe Lombardi's tweaking of the play calling all day. That looked like the offense that we would want to see on a week in and week out basis to have those type of play calling. But 27 pressures generated from the Chargers defense with no Joey Bosa for the better part of the game. No Justin Jones, didn't have Linval Joseph in this game. And Uchenna Nwosu led the defense in pressures with 7. At his first multi-sack game of his career. Jerry Tillery was just behind him, had 4 pressures, 1 quarterback hit. Kyler Fackrell showed up as well with 4 and 1 hit. Your diamond in the rough, Dan, 3. 2 hits, 1 sack.
You look good.
A lot of people were getting involved in this. Covington obviously had a huge, huge forced fumble on Joe Mixon. Gaziano got in this. A lot of the interior defense, and I loved the way, by the way, that they were blitzing our linebackers. The Drew Tranquil sack was fantastic. I wanted to see this more often from him. This was Ronaldo Hill getting creative with his blitz packages. The Nasir Adderley, Derwin James, basically double sack that they put on Joe Burrow.
Inject that into my veins.
When you can, I hadn't seen the defense fly around like this, Dan, honestly, since week 1 against Washington. I did not think that it had shown any performance that looked like that, where they were playing that fast and that aggressive since week 1. And this was impressive given the players that you had out of this game.
It's wild. You hear from folks who have played in the Brandon Staley kind of defensive scheme, and you hear a lot of people talk about it being like a team effort. And it's not just the stars that make the team do well, but it's a collective effort from everyone. And that's what you saw from that defense. You're 100% right. The defense balled out. And one of the differences that I saw in this game versus times in the past, when the opportunity presented itself to them, they capitalized on it. For example, Uchenna Nwosu, strip sack. Other games, strip sack, Burrow lands on it. Uchenna Nwosu comes up with it. Tavon Campbell, a ball lands right in front of him on the strip from Covington. Other games, bobbles, goes out of bounds, they keep it. Like, the Chargers held on to it. When they were presented with opportunities, they took advantage of it. And they got home. 6 sacks. Derwin James was everywhere. We're starting to see, like, don't look now, I love Nazir Adderley and Derwin James playing on the same field. Like as Nazir Adderley has gotten better and better, you see kind of the ball hockey mentality. I do wish that Nazir would wrap up more when he's kind of the last line of defense sometimes. But man, that safety pairing is fantastic. Chris Harris redeems himself. Huge interception in the end zone. That defense it looked hungry. And to be able to do that without Asante Samuel Jr., without Justin Jones for the last part of the game, without Joey Bosa, that's special. And when we ask about, like, is this team making adjustments? Are they growing? Are they learning as a team? Do they know how to use their personnel?
You hope so.
It's hard to think they don't with that type of performance on defense. Let's look at some of these comments. Sky Soldiers, yes. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. Like, the defense balled out. Real quick, side tangent. Jorge Rodriguez talks about, don't say they won because of Burrow's dislocated pinky.
No. We're not going to say that.
No. I will say this. I like Joe Burrow. Like, I think he's a great player.
Who doesn't like Joe Burrow?
How can you not like Joe Burrow? Like, it's vanilla and chocolate. Which flavor do you like? Like, that him and Justin Herbert both are fantastic quarterbacks. But the narrative that I think kind of irked me a bit.
Here we go.
Easy.
No. It's all right. I was just waiting for when this was going to come up. That's all.
I don't even know if I'm going where you think I'm going. But the narrative that kind of irks me is the Joe Burrow, gutted out that performance, had a dislocated finger, was getting beat up all day. Justin Herbert has all the intangible, has all the, the skills, the qualities, the traits, the intangibles, but there's just something about Joe Burrow, that it factor, and I think he's better because of that. Like, you saw what happened with his finger, but did you see Justin Herbert post-game walking to the bus and his hand was, like, mangled up in a wrap? Like, they're both doing the same thing, expressing themselves differently, but the one who's getting the FaceTime in front of the cameras is the one who gets the storylines and the headlines. So, like, be careful, media, who I'm sure isn't listening to any of this, but whatever. Like, this term moxie that is given to Joe Burrow, he has it. There's no doubt about it. But I think it can be labeled to different people for different things. So, no. Sure, he dislocated his pinky. He looked like he was in pain, but the ball was flying all over the yard by the end of the game. Like, he was fine. He was fine enough to do well. So, no, we're not going to say they won because of Joe Burrow's dislocated pinky. Bubba comes in. Go Bolts. Absolutely. So you say defense is what caused that. I say aggression. And that it's a little fluffy because it can go all over the place. But you saw, whether it was on offense with play calling, whether it was special teams with Andre Roberts and the blocking that he was able to get. You saw it with the punt and kick return coverage and aggression that you saw from Amon, from Drew Tranquil, from Chris Rumpf. On defense, you saw tackles for loss. You mentioned it. That blitz that Drew Tranquil had, I want to say it was in the fourth quarter, late third, perfectly timed. Overall, that was a team that was aggressive and was hungry and wanted that victory more than the other team. It was. But leave it to the Chargers to go up to a 24-point lead, win by 19, yet you're still feeling like this has been a nail-biter and your team's on the brink of a loss. Like, that's how it goes. That's how it goes. Any other ones, Jake? Biggest takeaways for reasons we won? Talked about aggression, talked about defense. Obviously, we talked about... we hadn't even gone into the statistics yet. Justin Herbert is doing Justin Herbert godlike things.
Like I said, I didn't want to just, reach for the low-hanging fruit. And obviously that is the headline for how he performed, because we were going to need him to perform. I think I saw this game playing out one of two ways. Either the Chargers were going to be in a shootout with the Bengals because it had all the offensive matchups on both sides that could atone for that. Burrow, Chase, Mixon coming off the game that he had, the Chargers with their weapons, this seemed like it had shootout written all over it. I either saw it as that, or from what I had seen from the Chargers recently, I saw it on the flip side of the coin to where the Chargers could get blown out. I did not expect to see the Chargers at any point in the game with a 24-point lead. As you said, Dan, they were aggressive early. You opened up the damn playbook. You sure as hell made Rex Ryan happy, not only with throwing it downfield, but throwing it to one receiver in particular that he's been clamoring to get more involved in the offense. That's Jalen Guyton. Personally, I don't think Rex watches enough Chargers football to share the same opinions that us Chargers fans do about that, but I digress. Jalen Guyton played a fantastic game and was that deep threat when they needed him to be. Mike Williams got involved early. Hell, Jalen Guyton could have even taken it in not once, but twice. It was phenomenal to see Justin Herbert look like the Justin Herbert that we saw in 2020. But this is the hard part, Dan, is that, again, now your expectations for what we witnessed this last Sunday, there are going to be expectations for this coming Sunday against the Giants.
As there should be.
I understand that. Maybe it doesn't have to be that way against that team. But you better believe you're going to need to have that type of aggression play calling, those type of downfield passes, and your offense clicking a week from Thursday.
You're right. You're right. So let's get into some of these takeaways before we get into some of the voicemails that we have today from folks watching and listening to the show. We have to talk about it. How weird was the officiating? Like, there were some bad calls, and then there were just times I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Like, I honestly have no clue what they're doing.
Offensive pass interference. Let's start there. That was a joke. The call that was on Keenan Allen.
Absolutely insane.
And then to see the following series for the Bengals and Jamar Chase, I think he was being covered by Michael Davis on this play.
Mm-hmm.
To see his break and his push off, which was literally nothing more than what Keenan Allen did on the previous series, you're thinking to yourself, what the hell is going on? Like, there's no way if you're going to call this on Keenan, how is this not offensive pass interference on Jamar Chase? Dan, my favorite was the damn board meeting that the officials decided to have late in the game, where they're pulling one guy from one side. He runs back. No, wait, come back. I still got to talk to you. What the hell happened in that play? On the broadcast, they're going back and forth between Brandon Staley's face and Zach Taylor's face. What the hell is going on? Who's the call on? And then it was nothing. It was literally felt like 3.5 minutes for nothing. And my favorite was the apologies of the officials. Not once, but twice.
Touchdown.
Chris Harris gets the
Jr.
interception in the end zone, and it's a touchdown. I feel really bad for officials in the NFL because this is the type of backlash that they have to deal with. But damn, don't make it this easy for us to have these things to say.
It was so bad. And then I saw this live. The missed pass interference call that was on Keenan Allen, where he was getting held back and then arms around him. I could hear him yell at the refs.
I've forgotten about that one.
Like, back to back to back, those three things happened where he gets called for that, then the offensive pass interference, then the other team gets it. Jamar Chase, you're like, come on, man. And then someone in here gives a Eladio. I was excited to see Coach Staley finally get heated on the sidelines.
Whoa.
So,
Dan, from the broadcast perspective, we didn't initially know what he was so pissed off about.
I saw it.
And then the announcers told us just a few seconds later. I couldn't tell if he was yelling at a player from the perspective of him. You couldn't see who he was directly yelling at. And then you figure out, oh yeah, it's the officials for not resetting the clock. I
think that's the most heated I've seen Brandon Staley the entire game or the entire season. And yeah, like immediately I see him flying over, pissed off about that, red in the face. the whole team was pissed. And then also, like, that was probably, I mean, not that Brandon Staley has not been engaged in games in the past, but this one, it felt like the whole team was like locked in, and anything that went against their plan, they were not going to let it happen. Subtly, the reach from Jalen Guyton into the end zone, didn't get it, was short. Ball was actually, he was luckily down, but ball came out, could have easily gone to the Bengals. I saw Brandon Staley light into him as soon as he gets up off the ground, before he even gets to the sidelines. I put a little video of it on Twitter as well. Like, those are the little execution things that in situational football, you cannot give them those kinds of opportunities. Luckily, it didn't happen. But he was so engaged in that game, and he was willing that team to victory the entire day. And it was a breath of fresh air, to be honest, because again, I'm not going to ever get used to this. For years, this Chargers team has been plagued by coaching staff, has been playing and winning in spite of coaching mistakes. Now, granted, there have also been player mistakes, but coaching mistakes have plagued this team for years. Sure, you can nitpick a thing or two that the Chargers coaching staff has done, but by and large, this coaching staff has had this team in positions to win every game they've played. And you can't say that about other coaching staffs that we've had. So, Michael Davis, Ross comes in and talks about huge win for this game. And a lot of it is because of Michael Davis. Yes, he did get burned a bit on that one play to Jamar Chase. Luckily, he dropped it, stuck with it, ends up with an interception.
He had a nice pass breakup later in the game. He had a nice pass breakup later on in the game, too.
Imagine this defense without him and Asante Samuel Jr.
I don't want to.
No way. That was huge. Devon Campbell, he had a scoop and score. He redeemed himself a bit. But he still was exposed. And I don't blame him. I mean, with that receiving core, I'd go after Devon Campbell too. So, Jake, before we move on, we've got to pay the bills a little bit. I'll pass it over to you. Who are we sponsored? Who are some of the good people we are sponsored by today?
Well, first of all, this is actually special because anybody who watches UFC like I do, I tend to lay a little action every now and then, put a little wager down every now and again. And this fight's no different. It's a huge fight. Dustin Poirier going up against Charles Oliveira. Big time fights this weekend. Can't wait to watch them. If you guys want to get on in the action, go to mybookie.ag. Use the promo code LAFB at MyBookie. That's promo code LAFB to double your initial deposit all the way up to $1,000, so you won't need to break the wishbone to be able to come out ahead. Make sure you do it. Bet now, thank me later, much later. You can bet, but don't take my wagers on it. I don't want to be responsible.
I was going to ask, who do you think is going to win?
If you want my prediction for the UFC fight, I'm taking Dustin Poirier. Love what he's got, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. Charles Oliveira is no joke. He's a beast. I think he's slightly getting slept on in this fight, but it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Love it. Love it. All right, so let's get to some of these comments that we have from folks. Shaggy Elwood, love the name, by the way. Staley finally used all the tools in the box. So, one point on this, Jake, and sometimes myself included in this, we get very impatient and we want to see results happen quickly.
I think I'm a little bit more impatient than you are, Dan.
I 1,000% think you are correct. But we have to remember, this is a whole new coaching staff, a whole new defensive scheme, a ton of new players. It takes time for the team to kind of know what they have and for the team to be able to execute what looks like a very complex scheme. It's not easy. So Staley finally using all the tools in his box. Yes. But it also is the first year. And it's also like we have to give it time for this to happen. And I think as a team gels more, as they get to know their personnel more, as the personnel gets to know the playbook more and feels more comfortable with it, those tools are going to be executed with much more. I said it for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Like, the Chargers are in position. The coaching staff have had them in the right position to make the play, i.e., they had the right tools. The tools didn't work. Like, guys weren't tackling. Guys weren't making interceptions. Guys weren't blocking. Guys weren't whatever it was. So, yeah, the tools in the box are there. The tools in the boxes are actually working now, which, music to my ears. Thank you so much. Todd Miller comes in. Ooh, Jake, you're going to love this one. I'll let you take this one. Orlovsky, career backup, picks Burrow, 3-time Super Bowl champion coach Jimmy Johnson would take Justin I can't read. There's a pause there. 3-time Super Bowl champion coach Jimmy Johnson would take Justin Herbert over any quarterback in the league. Jake, did you know there is no quarterback in the NFL that has a higher QBR so far this season than Justin Herbert?
I believe it's his 7th game this season that he's thrown for over 300 yards. No. 5th or 6th. I think somewhere around there he's thrown for 300-yard performances. Whichever way. Again, Justin Herbert, I can't remember the exact stat, Dan, but he got into another stat with Dan Marino where he was the second quarterback to do X, and forgive me for missing the stat. I just went completely blank on that. But Justin Herbert, for what he's been doing consistently. Now, Dan Orlovsky, traditionally I have a good amount of respect for. In this circumstance, and I was waiting for it from the point of, Max Kellerman, Keyshawn Johnson show in the morning, waiting for it on Get Up. I was even waiting for it on NFL Live because he put out the tweet night of the game saying, tape, unpopular but true, Joe Burrow outplayed Justin Herbert by a lot. I think if he didn't put the term "a lot" behind there, he may have saved himself a few thousand comments in the responses. But the only justifications that I got that I was able to hear from Dan in regards to this,
not me,
it's not you, Orlovsky in this circumstance, was he was making comparisons of the deep balls that both Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow were throwing. And his claim on this as to why Burrow was better. And thank you, Ross Ackerman. Yes, it's 7. I had it right the first time, and I went back on it. It's 7 games. That's correct. 7 games that is in there for 300-yard passing games for Justin Herbert for this season. Back to Orlovsky, his comparison was that when Justin Herbert threw the deep ball to Jalen Guyton and Mike Williams, those were contested catches. To basically say that it's more of the receiver's credibility that they get for going up, battling it, catching the ball, and coming down with it. Whereas his comparison with Joe Burrow, when he threw the pass that T. Higgins ended up catching in the end zone between 2 defenders, that it was only where his guy could catch it. That was the only in-depth argument I really heard Dan Orlovsky go into.
And it's not even true.
I don't understand how you could really separate that, honestly. Because Mina Kimes is tweeting video of Justin Herbert doing Patrick Mahomes things and throwing across from his body and a dart to Keenan Allen right in the middle of the field. Just looking at it at face value alone, if you're going to talk about all this kind of stuff about, Burrow, even with his pinky injury, was able to maneuver the defense a lot better. His accuracy was a lot better on short throws. And obviously this is where PFF I believe is also going with their thought process on why they believe it. Skip Bayless would be reading all into this because that's his favorite website as well. He always loves to reference PFF. But I just don't see how this is the case. When you look at how Justin Herbert was rolling in this game. And the other thing that I really liked for Orlovsky is that he glossed over 2 things. He said this Bengals team was getting right back into it until the Joe Mixon fumble and then until the end zone interception that he threw. But does he also forget that at one point they were down 24-0 And they wouldn't even be in the position that they were at down 2 if the Chargers didn't try their best to match what the Bengals were doing in the first half of this game, with Austin Eckler coughing it up uncharacteristically twice, with the Justin Herbert interception that really could have gone either way. I think Josh Palmer had a chance to come down with it, or it should have been defensive pass interference. Regardless of all that, look, this has been a war on Twitter for the last 2 days. Whatever you want to say about it, my opinion, both teams have spectacular quarterbacks.
100%.
But to say a statement that in that type of performance, that there was a wide margin of difference of good play between Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow, respectfully, I will say no.
Oh, I'm tempted. Okay, I'll go real quick. That deep ball that went to Mike Williams on kind of that corner end zone route that he ended up throwing, no way any other person other than Mike Williams could have caught that. The throw that he threw to Josh Palmer was a dime. That was a perfect throw. Josh Palmer's right there. The throw he threw in the end zone to Donald Parham that went right through his hands was a dime. The deep shot to Mike Williams on the other side of the field was a dime. The shot to Jared Cook was a dime. So this, it's just a jump ball. Like, it's not true. Like, there are bias. I get it. But, like, I honestly think, Jake, that after a while.
Why does it even have to be a question like that?
Right, exactly. I was more just.
That's what I don't understand. If Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler Murray, name any other big name quarterback, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, the list can go on and on. If any one of them put up the stat lines that Justin Herbert put up on Sunday, I'm sure they would have downplayed it. I'm sure they wouldn't be talking their asses off about it come Monday morning, because they're not as biased as that, are they?
No, not at all.
Come on.
No. All right, Jake, we've got about 40 minutes into this. We got to go through some of these hotline voicemails we have. For folks who are not familiar, you can always call in Chargers Unleashed hotline. I was too busy getting crazy with everyone in Cincinnati to even put out the name, the number, and everything when we won the game. But for everyone, 323-374-5651. Leave us a voicemail, and we'll play your take on an upcoming episode. Jay, we've got 2 of them today that we'll get through. First one comes from the 570 area code. Let's hear what they have to say. This one came in right after the victory. Let's hear what they have to say about this Chargers win.
This was an absolute must-win game. Had to beat the Bengals if we wanted to keep pace for the playoffs. And the scary thing is that we had a 22, unanswered streak that the Bengals had. They scored 22 unanswered, and that was just – it felt like we were going to lose that game. It felt like Pittsburgh, where we had such a huge lead. Then there's this meltdown that typically happens. But Campbell gets that fumble recovery for 61 yards and scores. So that pretty much ices the game. But I got to be honest, though, I'm really worried about – I know we won, and that's, amazing. I'm really worried about what's happening injury-wise. I mean, Asante with the 2 head injuries, and then Joey gets another head injury. He seems like he was in good spirits. I'm just really concerned at this point because, the playoffs, a lot of it comes down to the attrition in the playoffs, and we just haven't been healthy, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But, we got the win, looking on the bright side, and it was a huge win. Justin Herbert in the first quarter was just ridiculous. I mean, in the whole game.
Oh, I think he got cut out. I don't know.
Let me start off by this, Tim, because I felt that caller's perspective very much so on Sunday. I know exactly
what it was. You.
It could have been me. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't me. But I did put out a tweet when the score was then closed to 24-22. I said, no matter what year it is, the Chargers will never be able to outrun their history of blown leads. And I know that that's sad. I know that sucks to hear. But damn it, until that is proven wrong, and that's going to take a lot of games to do so, that's just an unfortunate fact. And apparently it doesn't matter what head coach it is. It doesn't matter who's at the quarterback position.
You're not wrong.
This is just it's a damn curse that just so happens to follow the Chargers. The thankfully part of it for 2021 is that more times than not, the Chargers have found themselves on the better end of these type of games. to where traditionally they would have lost it, and thankfully they've found some way, some will to come out of it as the victor. But talking about injuries for a second, Dan. So yes, Asante Samuel Jr. being out. And the last I heard, I think it was yesterday, that Brandon Staley had mentioned something about just an update on him still being in concussion protocol. But, and again, I'm not direct quoting here, I'm summarizing, but basically saying that he's coming to the end of it.
He's close.
Yes. Now, even still, I am tentative to put him on the field. Because for a young player in his first year to have 2 concussions in a span of 3 weeks is no joke.
No.
Joey Bosa had talked about that just a couple weeks ago, that he reached out to him to talk to him about it because obviously it's serious. And you may not want to risk that for the remainder of this year. I said, Dan, when this first happened, it would not surprise me if it erred on the side of caution, which Brandon Staley obviously did this week with Joey Bosa. Thankfully, it doesn't look like there was any concussion effects. Looks like he cleared concussion protocol. But in a similar type of fashion, it would not surprise me at all if Brandon Staley went cautious and kept him out for the remainder of the year. I know that that's not what everybody wants to hear, but it wouldn't surprise me. I would much rather have Asante Samuel Jr., especially in his early years of his rookie contract, to be able to perform rather than sustain, God help me, 3 concussions in a single season. You don't want that for someone so young in their career. Joey Bosa looks like he's going to be fine. Justin Jones worries me a little bit. We'll see. We'll get updates from that. Brandon Staley said that he has a knee and an ankle injury, so hopefully that's nothing too serious. And then, of course, you've had Mark Webb and Alohi Gilman out for the last couple of weeks as well. So your secondary has obviously been hit with some depth issues as well. We still don't even know if we're going to have Brian Bulaga return at any point this season.
Eckler's a little bit beat up right now.
But if you can sustain over these next 5 weeks, and again, most of the time when it comes to playoff teams that are not the top seed, what's most important for the seeds that are below them? You get hot at the right time and you get healthy at the right time. So hopefully from the Chargers standpoint, they could have both of those things in their favor over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, look, health and nutrition is certainly a storyline. You can't say any other thing than that. But Derwin James is still out there. Keenan Allen's still there. Corey Linsley's still there. Rashawn Slater's still there. Mike Davis is still there. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Austin Eckler. Like, the guys that are getting paid the biggest bucks to make the biggest plays, for the most part, are there. So could we bring in some other guys that could help fill up the underbelly of the roster? Sure. But as we saw from this past game, playmakers get paid to make plays. And we got playmakers who are getting paid. And they're the ones that are healthy right now. So you'll take it. Joey Bosa, I think, is okay. Sneak peek, or I guess a little tidbit. For me, when I was actually at the game, I saw him walk right by me. And I was trying to yell, ask how he was doing, wasn't able to answer. And then a kid, probably 10 years old, about one section over, asked him, hey, how are you doing? And he just looked up to him and he said, I'll be fine. I think he's okay. So I'm not that worried about Joey Bosa. I'm more just impressed what they were able to do without Joey Bosa. Like, that was insane to me. Okay, Jake, again, Chargers Unleashed hotline, 323-374-5651. Leave us a voicemail. Let us know what you have to say, what your thoughts are. Win or loss, we're here for you. Vent. It's healthy. It's like James Wagner has given us a call back. James Wagner has given us a call back from West Virginia. Let's hear what James has to say following this victory.
Hey, fellas. How's it going? James Wagner from West Virginia. Hope you guys are doing well. Praying for you guys. God bless. Vote up, Chargers. Another game. And I'm going to make a comment on something that I know is probably the most redundant topic that has been going on over this game, and that is the league media talking about who they would rather have between Burrow and Herbert as their franchise quarterback. And I'm going to tell you right now, squash that, because give me Herbert all day, any day. any team, and I believe Herbie is going to lead it all the way. So love the game. Great game. I still believe we're on our way to bigger and better things with Staley Nation. You guys have an awesome day, awesome week. God bless.
James Wagner, thank you so much.
West Virginia.
God bless you as
Love
well.
it. Look,
James, who do you want? Who do you want? Who do you want?
No,
You're the
no,
Bengals.
hang on a second. Time out.
2020 NFL draft is on the clock.
You understand that we're all playing ESPN's game right now. Do you understand this?
Let's play the game. Who are you picking?
Because no, I'm not playing this game. That's the point. I'm done playing this game. You've seen that Mad Max GIFs where Tom Hardy looks up and says, "Nope, that's bait." That's exactly what this is. It's meant to cause controversy. The tweet that was out there today, who would you rather start your franchise with, Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow? Of course, we're going to say it's Justin Herbert. Why wouldn't we? We understand that. The guy of the three biggest quarterbacks of his draft class has the better body of work, was the rookie of the year in 2020. The stats obviously back it up. But I have nothing but respect for Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, if it was me, if I got Joe Burrow as a consolation prize, if you went back in time and you said that Justin Herbert was the first quarterback to go off the board and we ended up with Joe Burrow, I wouldn't be pissed off about it.
No.
Both of these guys are tremendous quarterbacks and are going to be battling it out for the next decade.
The fact that we're even in the discussion to be able to wonder who's better, that's all you need to know.
Right. But yes, gun to my head, who am I taking? It's Justin Herbert, okay?
He played.
And I don't need to go into any reasons for that. I've talked about it over the last year and a half. The stats are obviously there to back it up. It does not mean that I am discrediting Joe Burrow as a quarterback. I think he's an excellent quarterback. Excellent quarterback. And for Cincinnati, that's great because they've needed that for some time. You've needed a quarterback like that to lead your franchise. So they should be happy that they have him too. But I'm not playing this damn game, Dan. I'm not getting sucked into the ESPN filter that Dan Orlovsky decided to start. And then ESPN said, okay, let's run with this for the whole week. Yeah, gotcha, you bastards.
I got to say, look, they got me. James is listening live. James agrees with you, Jake.
Thank you, James.
They sucked me in. I got into it. I was brought in, and I realized, I was like, you know what? This is just clickbait. I'm not doing this anymore. HH4 says Crybaby Joe looks like a JV quarterback compared to Herberto. I'm not going to go that far.
I wouldn't go that far either. Look, he still came back in the game, still did what he needed to do, was still operating and put his team in a position to come close to come back against this Chargers team when he wasn't doing that the first half, but he put his team in position to do so. Again, it's not disrespectful to one or the other, in my opinion. But yes, I would rather have Justin Herbert as my quarterback, but Joe Burrow ain't that far off, man. He's not. God, can you imagine if the Chargers were looking for a quarterback this previous draft?
I was just gonna say, if you take all quarterbacks drafted in the last 2 years, probably 3 years.
I mean, look at it like this. Everybody,
those two quarterbacks are one and
Mac
two.
Jones
Regardless
is obviously
of which one they are. They're one and
well,
two.
look at Mac Jones, for example. Mac Jones is the hot topic to talk about right now. Just defeated a good Buffalo Bills team on the road by only completing 2 passes for 19 yards. Then you look at the rest of the quarterbacks in his class. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields are obviously, if you took any one of those three and you put them on the Patriots, it would be the exact, if not a better situation for any three of them. But because they are on unfortunate, bad teams, both from personnel and from coaching, they're unfortunately in the position that they're in. Trey Lance has to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo. San Francisco 49ers have some coaching decisions of their own that they're trying to figure out. They've tried to do like the whole thing that Tua was dealing with last year, getting benched, coming in favor of the veteran, go with him. It's bouncing around. So I'm very happy with the quarterback that we have obviously gotten. Rookie of the year. Can't take that away from him. One of the best, if not the best, performance from an NFL rookie in years. But damn, would you really have been that pissed off if it went the other way in a
No.
different universe and Joe Burrow was the pick at 6 instead of Justin Herbert if Justin Herbert went off the board at number 1? No. I think the exact same things would still be capable of being of happening because both guys have very, very similar traits. But from a body of a work and what's been proven, Justin Herbert is my decision.
Okay, real quick. So let's go back. Justin Herbert goes number 1. Who's Miami taking?
I still think they would have taken. Well, no, I take that back. Probably, they probably would have gone Joe Burrow. Yes,
and so we
probably would have gone Joe. Yes.
Imagine that world. By the way, real quick, I put this out earlier. Some quick stats for Justin Herbert so far this year. Jake ranks 1st in QBR, 4th in passing yards. He already has almost 3,600 passing yards, and he has 5 games left. He could arguably go for 5,000 yards this year. 3rd in passing touchdowns, 4th in yards per game, 1st in fourth quarter comebacks, 1st in game-winning drives, 8th in rushing yards as a quarterback, and that narrative of he doesn't throw the ball downfield ranks 13th in yards per attempt. We got a good one. Let's enjoy it. Let's have some fun. Before we wrap up, we got so many comments in here to just talk about Joe Burrow, and it's I find it amusing. We're not going to go. We don't have time to get through all of these. But Connor, we did discuss this earlier. This is what Jake had mentioned previously. I think Orlovsky got into some deep water when he said he was way better than Herbert, because it's just not true. If he would have said he thought he played better or he played better given the circumstances or whatever, fine. But regardless, we all agree. I don't know how he can still say that. So snap back from this. Chargers, 7-5, going up against Giants this coming week, going up against Kansas City Chiefs, who don't look now, I think on a 5-game winning streak. This AFC West and the AFC battle going down the stretch is going to be insane. Wow. And those victories they had against Pittsburgh, against Cincinnati, against Kansas City, against Las Vegas, against Cincinnati, I think it's Cincinnati, obviously. Like, those are big. Those are tie-breaking wins that if all of us are 7-5 or all of us end up being, 11-6, we go in. They don't. Big. I can't undersell how important this game against New York is. Everyone talking about it being a trap game. I mean, I guess it is, but like the Chargers know how important this is. 8-5 is huge. But the Chargers did what everyone thought they couldn't do. They went into Cincinnati, took care of business, beat Joe. I mean, that team was arguably one of the hottest teams in the NFL. That offense was going crazy. And they made them look ordinary. Which, considering how bad our defense has been, playing at least, whether you want to talk about the rush defense, it's been horrible.
Like I said, the AFC conference has no idea what it wants to do right now. The Bengals as a team, you could go back to some of their wins and losses and a little bit of their inconsistencies. It's very similar to the Chargers over the last several weeks. Remember when Cincinnati just laid a beating on Baltimore and then the very next week was beat by the New York Jets?
And then they spanked the Steelers.
Put a beat down on Pittsburgh. And then this game, they go down 24-0. Obviously, like, the Chargers been inconsistent all damn week for the better part of a month and a half. You just need to, especially at this point, it's crunch time. You need to string together wins back to back. 3 divisional games along with 2 very winnable games with the Giants and the Texans are left on your roster. All of them are winning games. And guess what? 3 of your next 4 are at home. So you can't squander those opportunities for yourself either. But yeah, Baltimore, who kicked the crap out of us, doesn't know what they want to do. Buffalo, who a lot of people were happy about a long time ago, they don't know what they want to do. this is just the way that the AFC conference is going this year. You look at the NFC, and you have your established teams in there. The AFC, at this point right now, who knows where we're going to be in 5 weeks? Who knows what the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh seed is going to look like 5 weeks from now?
I know it's fluid, Jake. 5 games left. Predictions right now. What's the Chargers' record at the end of the season?
Oh, Dan, what the fuck do you know?
No, I know it's fluid. But I'm saying right now, what's your gut telling you?
Look, no question about it. You already should be giving yourself 2 wins with the Giants and the Texans game. There is no excuse. There is no reason why you shouldn't handily, euphorically, emphatically, if I could channel my inner Stephen A. Smith, you should not have any reason to not win those 2 games. Now, divisionally, you're fortunate enough to get the Chiefs at home. You're fortunate enough that you're going to get is it Denver that it's Denver that we get at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or yes, you're fortunate enough you get 2 of your 3 last divisional games at home. You got to take care of business. I think you can beat a Denver team that just beat you by having their not 1 but 2 quarterbacks collectively complete only 14 passes against you. I think you can do that. You just have to come out and execute better offensively. So, yes, there's very realistic wins here in these next 5 weeks. Ideally, you go 3-2. What? That puts you at
10-7.
10-7. You're probably going to need a little bit of help. If you finish 10-7, you're probably going to need just some losses just to be safe, because you really don't want to get down to that tiebreaker aspect.
But luckily, we have a lot of tiebreakers.
Yes, you're lucky right now, but you really don't want to have to rely on it. So I think 10-7 should get you in, along with a little bit of help along the way over these next 5 weeks from the rest of the AFC conference opponents.
Yep. I think I agree. I think 10-7 is probably where we're going to right now. Although, again, we said it's fluid. We'll see what happens. We have a lot of 10-7s in the comments. Folks are thinking that's where we're going to be going. I also would be shocked if we don't get in. So, Jake, anything else you want to tell the good people about this game? I know we went into kind of a bunch of different topics today. We went into some of the kind of fan reaction, got the voicemails, went into kind of the biggest, I guess, takeaways from this game. Any other takeaways you have?
Yeah, it's the same thing I've been saying. I go back to my comments last week. It's great to see the Chargers when they're clicking. When they're clicking, especially offensively, they are a hard team to beat. The only problem with this is that, especially against the Giants, you're probably not going to see the same playbook that you saw come Sunday. You know that you prepare for different teams differently, and that's fine. But for the love of God, show me some consistency from a play calling perspective that opens it up like we saw against the Cincinnati Bengals. You're essentially giving Justin Herbert all of his tools to go out and make the big plays and win the game for you and put up big time points for this team. Dan, remember what I said? One of the easiest ways to take away an opposing team's run game is to get out to a big lead. And for the first time this season, the Chargers held a 24-point lead. And Joe Mixon, who had just come off of a huge performance, what was it? Didn't eclipse 60 yards rushing in this game?
Nope.
Yes, he had a touchdown, but didn't have the dominating performances that he had weeks prior. So offensively, if you can get up to leads like this, Dan, then on the flip side of that coin, it gives you an extra excuse to be more aggressive with your defenses. And you saw what those type of packages were and how they were able to get creative with their blitz packages. One helps the other. I love what I saw in Cincinnati on Sunday. Give me some consistency moving forward, because I don't want to go on this ebbs and flow and where a week from now we're going to be talking about why the hell was the ball not pushed down the field once again.
Last question I have for you, Jake, before we get out of here. A to F. Currently, Chargers sit 7-5. What's your grade you're giving this team right now?
I'll give it a B, considering the big wins that they've been able to pull out in the times where they actually really needed them. Yeah, you squandered opportunities against Minnesota and Denver in the big picture, though you really needed those because those were both winnable games. But yeah, I mean, I think that they've done an admirable job, and I give them credit for when they're on, they're on. And when they prove it that way, it's what elevates the grade a little bit. I was really close to actually going to a C just because of the inconsistencies, but you know what? I'll be nice.
I guess
I'll say
yeah,
I'll give it
inconsistencies.
C's. But I'll be nice. I'll give it a B if this offense can string together these type of similar games, and if the defense continues playing the way that they've played more recently in the last few weeks, this could be a team that you don't want to face come first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I would say B or B plus. I might go B plus, and the only reason for that is because of the gauntlet of schedule they have had to go through. I mean, they haven't played a team. I don't remember what the record is for the Eagles, but I don't think they've played a team who has less than 6 wins all year.
And we figured that once we got past Baltimore that it was going to be smooth sledding there for a little bit. That hasn't been the case.
So for the Chargers to go 7-5 against that quality of schedule, they don't do that in years past. So I'm giving them B plus. Obviously, there's room to improve, and that's the crazy part. Is there's still a lot of weaknesses that this team has that they can improve upon. So look, the sky's the limit. It's early. We need a lot of improvements from folks like the interior defensive line. We need some guys to get healthy. Offensive line, we could use some help. But this team's in good shape, and they're a damn fun team to watch. Let's enjoy. If you have not gone to a Chargers game because of the price of tickets and admission, check out tickets right now. Check out TickPick. You can get tickets there for much cheaper than you can at other sites. I believe I saw seats as cheap as like $60 or $70, Jake, for this upcoming Giants game. Go to a game. You will not be disappointed. It is such a fun experience. SoFi is unreal. That Palace is amazing. Check out TickPick. See what you're looking at for prices. I promise you will not be disappointed. For Jake Hefner, you can find him at Jake T. Hefner, myself at Chargers Homer. Guys, this has been so much fun. Your Chargers are 7-5 in the driver's seat, headed to the playoffs right now. They have what they need. They're going up against the Giants at home. And then they got a Thursday primetime matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs. Until next time, it's Chargers Unleashed. Thanks so much. Tune in to us next time on Chargers Unleashed. Talk to you guys soon. Thank you. Bye.